players. Both players 10 and 2, still in top 8 contention, depending on how tiebreakers do line up. Just a breeding pool to start here for Ben. Windswept Heath will be sacrificed by Paul.
There's even a main deck copy of Obstinate Baloth in Ben's deck. This is an odd list, and a couple life gain creatures here to help with the beatdown matchups. Voice of Resurgence is often a very powerful tool in these kind of matchups, especially against Paul's build, which doesn't have a lot in the way of creature removal. Sometimes Voice is low impact if someone's loaded up with a lot of burn spells, but Paul is only on 4 paths and 4 bolts, and so Voice of Resurgence is a problematic card.
Yeah. Wild Mikado there from Paul. Winokur with just a Treetop Village and a passing of the turn. I think in this matchup, Paul's always going to be the aggressor.
Yes, for sure. Ben's late game is much, much better. He's got his copies of Snapcaster Mage. He's got Thragtusk, Wiltly Liege.
Paul going to search up a stomping ground here to make sure Wild Mikado does get across here for 3 points of damage. We'll see what the follow-up is here in just a moment. It's a copy of Tarmogoyf. Not all that big just yet, and it's going to be hit by a Spell Snare. Winokur will draw. It's a Flooded Strand and a passing of the turn. Rietzl untap very quickly. Wooded Foothills to draw. Mikado going to come across here for 3 more points of damage. This is going to try to. Winokur going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand. Maybe he's got some interest in maybe firing up the old Treetop Village. Try to trade. We'll see.
I think Paul will be thrilled about that play with Ben doing very little.
Yeah.
Being able to set him even further behind by losing a land. Good exchange for Paul at this stage. To say nothing if he has Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. Basic Plains being searched up. Yeah, it's an attempt to trade. Yeah. Paul does have Path to Exile in hand, but he's got no interest in guessing that. He wants a path and bigger threats. Don't worry about the Treetop Village.
He's got a lot of really good 3-mana plays in his deck, so unless he had something like Tarmogoyf there, I'd be really surprised if he was willing to path the Treetop Village. And Ben's got some really high-impact threats that Paul needs to path away.
Knight of the Reliquary is the follow-up there for Rietzl. He'll pass the turn back over to Winokur. Here's 3 mana. There's Knight of the Reliquary as well.
Now this, on the other hand, this is path-worthy.
Yes. And oddly enough, coming into this weekend, there were certainly some murmurs via social media on Knight of the Reliquary making a comeback this weekend.
For sure. Knight of the Reliquary alongside Ghost Quarter was seen as a way to play an aggressive strategy but still have enough game against decks like Amulet and Tron.
I don't think we expected Kessig Wolf run, but that's a good thing to find there with Knight of the Reliquary. Path to Exile is going to take care of Winokur's Knight. Don't want to let that get active.
Modern Challenge players, your pairings for round 1 are up at the pairings board.
Let's see what's next here for Paul.
That is your starting table number. If you cannot find that pairings board, please come find a judge. Modern Challenge players, your pairings for round 1
Kessig Wolf Run is very potent alongside Knight of the Reliquary.
Oh, yeah.
It's a high-impact 1-up to go find, and then Knight of the Reliquary can get huge, Tarmogoyf as well, and one of the ways to race those sort of things is by chump blocking with things like Lingering Souls, and so Trample is especially potent there.
Horizon Canopy gets searched up. Might be time for another Knight, it is. So 2 very large Knights on the battlefield here for Paul. I'm going to head back Winokur's way. He has a Horizon Canopy.
1 copy of Supreme Verdict in his sideboard.
I was going to ask if there was a Wrath effect. That's the first thing that jumped to my mind. Wrath of God, Verdict, Day of Judgment, something like that. Seems almost necessary at this point. I'm going to start by cashing in the Horizon Canopy. If you're Paul, that's a good sign.
Yep. He does have 4 copies of Path to Exile in this deck.
Snapcaster Mage too.
Yeah, but he is pretty thin on answers to creatures that get this large.
There is a path. Mighty important to have. Let's slow down this Knight development a little bit. It's Saw Noble Hierarch there as well. Winokur with only 2 cards left in hand. Looks like Rietzl has the same amount. We're going to head back Rietzl's way. We'll take a draw step. Picked up a copy of Lightning Bolt for the turn. We'll see how he wants to use that one. He's going to start by cracking Horizon Canopy. Get a little deeper in the deck, pick up a copy of Wild Nacatl.
Sets up for a pretty nice turn here. You can go on the offensive here with Bolt and Nacatl. I think he still has Path to Exile left over in hand, too. And this night's huge alongside Keswick Wolf Run, which is going to make chump blocking on Ben's side really problematic.
There is a Tarmogoyf. Fast turn back. Really good turn for Paul.
You can see Paul's got a pretty big advantage in terms of efficiency, at least this game. It feels like all of his turns have been, here's all my mana, here's good stuff, here's answering your plays, and Ben was not fast out of the gates, nor has really caught up at any point.
Tarmogoyf to play here for Ben. We know that Eye of the Reliquary is pretty big. Yeah, he says, I'm going to path here. You can search up a land if you'd like, but looks like he's out of basics and just going to try to kill him. That's going to do it. Paul Rietzl is going to win this match over Ben Winokur. 2-1. Naya Collected Company is going to take care of Bant mid-range. For Rietzl, he moves on to 11-2. Of course, he came to this tournament with 3 buys, so we might be looking at win-win, make the top 8.
Yeah, when we saw him in the standings, it seemed like he was towards the bottom half of the X2s in terms of tiebreakers. We'll have to see how it shakes out, but he's doing the best he can.